Hello, everyone. Welcome to the reading of Dominic Taylor's play Cell Service, which will be starting at 7 o'clock. So there's still a little bit of time to settle in. As you'll see, it's a little different this time. We're streaming onto YouTube. So good to see you. Unlike Zoom, I won't see your names and we won't be able to privately chat with one another, but you should see YouTube live chat either to the right or below the video here on YouTube. So if you have any questions or need any help with something, feel free to pop that in there. You will need to be logged on to YouTube in order to chat. Hi, Logan, good to see you. And as always, we won't be seeing or hearing any of you, so don't worry about mute or video or anything like that. Hi, Peter. Hi, Kyle. I guess I can see your names if you chat, so nice to see you with us. Hi, Kendall. Welcome. Good to see you here. Hello, friends. You are in the right place for the reading of Dominic Taylor's Cell Surface tonight, which will be starting in about 22 minutes. So still time to settle in, grab a beverage or some popcorn or something. As you can see, we are streaming on YouTube Live, which is a little bit different than our usual Zoom platform. It means we can't privately chat with one another, but if you do have any questions that you have or need help with something or just want to say hi, you can see the chat box, which is either to the right of the little video box or underneath. If you're logged into YouTube, then you'll be able to say hi there. As always, we won't see or hear you in the audience, so don't worry about muting or video or anything like that. We're all set. And if you haven't yet, if you look in the video description underneath here, you'll see a link to the full program, digital program to learn about the artists that you're going to see tonight. Oh, Kendall says it's National Popcorn Day. It's like I just knew. As if I don't constantly have a giant bag of popcorn in my house, which I do. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Dominic Taylor's reading tonight. You are in the right place. We'll be getting started in a little over 15 minutes, right at 7 o'clock. As you can see, it's a little bit of a different setup than our usual Zoom webinar. We're here on YouTube Live. So we won't be able to privately chat with one another, but if you want to say hi and put some applause for the artists into the YouTube chat, you're more than welcome to. You'll see that over, if I'm facing the right direction, to the right of the little video box or underneath, depending on the size of your screen. If you're logged into YouTube, then you'll be able to chat. If you do have questions about tech side of things, feel free to pop that in there and I can help you out. As always, we won't see or hear you in the audience, but if you can hear my voice and see me and the slide up on your video, then you'll be able to watch the reading no problem. And if you look underneath where I am in this little video, you'll see a link to the full digital program if you haven't had a chance to look at that and learn about the artists that you're going to see tonight. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Playwright Center on YouTube Live. You are in the right place for Dominic Taylor's reading, which will get started in about 12 minutes. So still a little time for a quick break to settle in before we kick off. As always, if you're in the audience, we won't see or hear you at all. If you have been joining us for other readings this year, you'll see this is a slightly different setup than usual. We're not on our familiar Zoom webinar mode, but we're here streaming on YouTube Live. We won't be able to privately chat with one another as we sometimes can on Zoom, but if you do have any technical questions or want to say hi or put some applause in the YouTube chat, if you're logged into a YouTube account, you can do that. You'll see the chat either over this way to the side of your video box or underneath, depending on how your screen is set up. And if you do have questions about being able to see or hear anything, you can feel free to pop that in and I'll help you out. But if you can hear my voice and you can see this lovely slide, then you are going to be all set for the reading tonight. Also, if you haven't yet looked at the full digital program, you can find that in the description of the video right underneath. You'll see a hyperlink to that along with an interview with Dominic about this piece. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Playwright Center on YouTube Live. So happy to have you all here. It looks like we've got 24 people joined right at the moment and more coming every minute. You are in the right place for the reading of Dominic Taylor's play Cell Surface, which will be starting in about 7 minutes from now, right at 7 o'clock. As usual, we aren't going to see or hear any of you in the audience. If you're used to joining us on the Zoom webinar platform, this is a little bit different as we're streaming on YouTube Live. We won't be able to privately chat with one another, but if you do have tech needs or want to say hi or put some applause for the artists into the YouTube Live chat, you can find that over here to the right, depending on, I'm not sure how I'm flipped on YouTube, but you'll find the chat either to the side or underneath. So if you're logged into a YouTube account, you'll be able to add something there. Also, if you look right underneath the video in the description, you'll find a link to the digital playbill where you can learn a bit more about the artist that you're going to see tonight and also read a brief interview between Dominic and Haley Finn about the play. Hi, Erin. Yes, what a good idea to make it a Friday night date night. I love that. Hi, David. Nice to see you. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Playwright Center on YouTube Live on this lovely Friday night. You are all in the right place for Dominic Taylor's reading of Cell Surface, which will just be getting started in a couple of minutes. I just want to let you know that we're not going to see or hear any of you in the audience. Those of you who've been joining us this season will note that it's a slightly different setup than our usual Zoom webinar. So we're streaming on YouTube Live. That means we can't privately chat with one another, but if you want to say hi, ask a technical question about, if you're having trouble seeing or hearing, or if you want to put some applause for the artist in the YouTube chat, you can do that to your right or underneath, depending on how your screen is set up. If you're logged into a YouTube account, then you'll be able to chat. If you look just below this video in the description, you'll find a link to the digital program, which if you haven't taken a look at, you can find out a little bit more about the artist that you're going to see tonight. Hi, Dan. And Becky, hello. I think you should be able to stream to your TV with a Roku. If you have YouTube on that, that should work. I wouldn't be able to talk you through how to do it because I don't understand televisions, but I believe it's a possibility. Hi, Savannah.
Hello, Julia Brown.
Hello, Jeremy. Oh, there you are. Yes, thank you, Ben. All right. I'm going to turn it over and hide in the shadows, but I'll be monitoring the chat if anyone needs me.
Thanks, Julia. Hi, everyone. Good evening. Good evening. My name is Jeremy Cohen, and I am the producing artistic director at Playwright Center. And on behalf of our staff, our board, and the nearly 2,300 playwrights we serve each year, and my vice president, Kamala Harris, I'm thrilled to welcome you to the second play of our In the Lab series. Tonight, we celebrate affiliated writer Dominic Taylor and Kamala Harris and Dominic's play Cell Surface. So please clap and cheer at home and in the YouTube chat and all over in welcoming the amazing Dominic back to the center. Cool. We have folks tuning in online from all around the globe to be with us tonight. So in the beginning of this country's great transition ahead, we are gathering together to tell stories, as we have for 49 years here. Playwright Center acknowledges that we are on the traditional unceded land of the Dakota people, and we also honor the Anishinaabe Ojibwe people of this land. We are grateful for the work of Native and Indigenous activists, past, present, and future, who remind all of us that this is stolen land. Playwright Center is working to decolonize our spaces and our practices and to eliminate systemic barriers placed upon Native people and to work towards addressing reconciliation. And even as we gather virtually via the internet, a service unavailable in many Native and Indigenous communities, we at Playwright Center reaffirm our commitment to learning how best we can continue to support and honor our Native communities, especially locally. And we invite each of you to do the same. You can check out a list of incredible Native local organizations for you to get to know and hopefully consider supporting on our website on the Land Acknowledgement page. Next up in the public season is the third play in our Ruth Easton New Play series, This Much I Know by Jonathan Spector. You can catch that reading on February 3rd. And so if you haven't signed up yet, we encourage you to do so soon. This evening's reading marks day 4 of the workshop for Dominic and his creative team that includes the amazing director, Shay Cage, who we are always delighted to welcome home to PwC, along with an incredible duet of actors, longtime friends and partners, Shavonda Brown and Godfrey Simmons. So happy to have all these brilliant artists together tonight. So this In the Lab series was launched this year as so many of the writers we support have been experimenting with new forms and expressions for their storytelling. So in addition to our Play Labs Festival last fall and the Ruth Easton series, we chose 3 projects to support with time and resources in order to help them figure out their next best path. Dominic's exploration of writing a play for the Zoom screen was incredibly compelling to me when he told me about it, especially given the subject matter and especially given this moment in our country's history. As we encourage the teams to deeply explore the play until the last moment, you'll be seeing new things tonight that the team has been putting together. So for those of you that are first timers with us, we really treat these performances more as open rehearsals, where the artists are getting to learn about the play together and where we invite you in to be part of that process. And as Julia mentioned, you can take a more personal look into the play and learn more about the amazing Dominic in your online program for the piece tonight, and which includes an incredible interview. And you can also check that out in the lab page on our website. So Dominic has been part. I talk about writers, Dominic, and now you're here, and I'm like moving my screens around because I want to look at your face as I get to talk about you because I love you so much. The amazing Dominic has been part of Playwright Center for a very long time, and while we miss him tremendously here in the Twin Cities, it is so great to have him back with us this evening, and with this, in particular, with this story. Dominic is a brilliant writer and teacher and director and mentor. So many artists have talked about his influence on their work over the 11 years I've been here and before. As a writer and director, Dominic has long pushed the boundaries of what over-conventionalized theater can look and feel like. And with this new piece, he has sculpted a story that I continue to find every time I read it to be so deeply specific and intimate, and as we need to hear right now from playwrights in our world, entirely universal. 2020 has caused us to change so much of how we serve playwrights, and now we are into 2021, and some things remain an urgent priority. And one of the ways that we live into our values of accessibility at PwC is by ensuring that all of our readings are free and open to the public. We want as many people to feel like they can come and experience a piece like this and find their own voice. And I think about both Godfrey and Shavanda, who have spent time with us at Playwright Center over the years, and we're so happy to support, and with Shay, we're so happy to be able to bring artists together at this sort of hub, even online, to be able to kind of express storytelling in really different mediums. We started doing online programming last March, and since that time, we have created over 350 new jobs for playwrights and theater artists. Many of you have been emailing us, thank you, and asking how you can help support at this time. So to support the center and the artists we serve, we hope you'll consider a tax-deductible contribution. Julie will be popping a donate link and in the window. Gifts of any size, of course, make a huge impact. All right, tonight's performance runs approximately 65 to 70 minutes with no intermission. After the performance, please join us for a discussion of the play with the creative team led by Associate Artistic Director Haley Finn. Thank you again so much for being with us tonight. And please help me clap and welcome to the screen, Dominic Taylor.
So funny.
Yes.
That is so amazing. Jeremy, thank you so much. Thank you, Jeremy. You have to, I mean, I miss you. I mean, and the people in the Twin Cities, and I've got to stay on task. Let me do something first. I am presently in Santa Monica, which is the Los Angeles basin, but the ancestral language of the Gabrielina and the Tongva peoples. I need to acknowledge that. I want to thank Jeremy, Haley, the team, Shay's great work, and you as an audience in this experiment that we're going to be doing tonight. What I mean by this experiment is what this play is a self-surface. It's a very long story, but the short is this is actually a play for Zoom. The way a radio play could be a radio play, what I'm messing with, what the team we were trying to mess with is actually a play for Zoom, although we're screening it on YouTube. So it's kind of an experiment in form, it's an experiment in structure, it's an experiment in something that most of the audience is really aware of. I'm glad that everybody who's here is one of the beta testers for us with this experiment. I will say thanks again. I'll say thanks later. I'm gonna get out and let Shavanda and everybody do their thing. But I just wanted you to know it's a Zoom play. So the criteria might be a little bit different. But please have a blast, and I will see you in about an hour. Thanks again, Jeremy, Playwright Center, everybody, for letting me play for a few days. It's greatly appreciated, and hopefully you
Howard University, 1929. Did I catch you at a bad time?
You did, but no matter now.
I can return.
No need, you are here now, so stay.
I didn't want to bother you.
I need a distraction from my intellectual impasse. Let's solve your problem.
What I want to study might not seem possible.
What is your premise?
Thought.
Is this a joke?
No, I want to know if the paramecium can learn, if they have the ability to think.
You want to see if a cell can think.
Independently.
Why?
It's a life form, correct?
But what are you trying to find out?
People believe that we are the only animals with consciousness.
We are.
With a soul, right?
I think so.
Why do we do such soulless things to each other?
You are serious.
Why do we?
A breakaway from our higher development?
But animals will act like they have souls sometimes. They take care of each other when sometimes they should not.
They appear to have souls.
All we deal with is predicated on observation.
This is how the scientific method works.
We have a hypothesis, and then we test it.
So you want to test if a cell can think on its own. I'm not sure how to measure that.
I'm not sure how we measure it in humans.
Well, we give people choices. We see which one they opt for.
Like the choice to kill or not.
Absolutely.
So when a soldier kills someone in war, is he thinking?
Of course.
How do we measure that? He's just following orders. He is looking at the color of a uniform or the shape of a hat, and he shoots to kill. There is not thought. He is acting like an animal.
But he could choose something else.
Not after the training and the agreements with his superiors. You could ask them if they had choice and they will say yes, but they know they are lying.
But people don't kill just because of orders. Some people kill out of passion, jealousy.
Well, that's desire then.
Yes, a human trait.
Could desire be greater than survival?
In humans, it can be. That's why they do such foolish things.
That's my experiment.
You want to see if we are foolish on a cellular level.
I want to see if a cell could move to desire more than survival.
Cells won't do that.
Are you sure?
You can try this experiment, but cells move to the path of least resistance to survive.
Always?
Always. Evolved cells. Evolved people, for that matter. No one lets desire supersede survival unless they are fools. But I can help you set up this experiment to prove it.
Why?
What do you mean?
You will help me set up an experiment that you know won't work.
Well, I know it won't work, but you don't know that yet. We can try.
Try it?
Prove me to be wrong, but I doubt it. Science shows us the thing we always knew with eyes that are new.
Dr. Just, do you think Howard will ever award PhDs in the biological sciences?
You want the truth?
Yes.
President Johnson is cheap and he's an idiot.
I don't know about that.
I do. And if you want an answer based on my learned observation,
Yes, please.
he will fund chemistry or physics. He will fund Dr. Drew and Dr. Julian, but he feels that biology is for mystics. He doesn't understand why we can't go into medicine and be MDs.
That's a shame.
Why do you ask?
I don't want to leave Howard, but I desperately would like to get my PhD.
You can teach here as long as you'd like.
It's not about teaching.
Are you looking for respect? Because academics get none.
A little respect. Presently, there is no colored woman with a PhD in biology.
You can get a PhD in biology.
How are you so sure?
I can open a door or two if you'd like.
Where?
I still have friends at the University of Chicago.
They don't take colored women.
Yet.
Ever.
They did not have a colored PhD candidate until I showed up. Dr. Lilly will help.
Will you do this for me?
I will. But first, I need help finishing this book.
You will finish it just fine.
I need your help, though.
No, you don't.
I do. I need the brightest people around me. This is no ordinary book. This is a primer, a Bible of biology. I can't be training another graduate assistant.
George Walker will give his eye teeth to work with you.
He's not the sharpest knife in the shed.
He will work hard.
I don't need a hard worker. I need you.
Why me?
You are so wonderfully you.
You trained me.
You had that something all great scholars have.
Always?
You notice it when you were in my class, not in the class per se. You came to office hours.
I had a question.
You were uncertain how to proceed.
I wanted clarity.
You thought it was provided in the syllabus.
It wasn't.
And you indicated something I hadn't considered. I teach a sea of students every year. There are only a few hundred, but it seems like thousands of them swim by. I'm not always sure what is retained, but they swim by the fountain of knowledge nipping when they want. They go upstream. And when you came to me, you caused a natural pause in the flow of nature. In my academic life cycle, I had not been paused by a disturbance that was natural and beautiful. You were an advance.
I take that as a high compliment from you.
You should. And when I looked, I guess the thing I noticed was your lower mouth. It had a symmetry that you did not alter by smiling.
I smile.
Now you smile. Then you wanted your look to have the severity of your area of study.
I was coming to meet with my professor about a question on how we should record and present information. Being a bubbly little girl did not seem like a sound strategy.
You are serious. What did you notice about me?
Your eyes,
My eyes.
they seem so tired. You are handsome, but your eyes seem to want to rest.
You don't know the half of it.
And you were the person who would not smile.
I think I can't.
You can.
I notice a lot. I notice how your cheeks and your lips and your nose make a perfect isosceles triangle. I know what I want, but I don't know what you want.
Well, I want to be a doctor just like you.
Well, if that's the case, I can make that happen.
You can guarantee it?
I can. If you will stay on with me to complete the book. You are the only one who can.
Another high compliment.
You are an evolved being.
I will help you finish this book.
Can we seal the arrangement with a kiss?
A kiss?
Yes, but you don't have to. You have an option. You don't have to if you don't want to.
Why does she only have one photo?
How would I know?
He's not even photogenic.
Oh, you say. Can we continue?
What's the matter?
Nothing.
No, I know something is going on.
Many things.
The thing at the front of your mind.
Well, we have been doing this, and I was just wondering.
What is this?
Well, you know what this is.
I'm not certain what you're referring to.
Our extracurricular activities.
Enjoyable.
What do you think they mean?
Sex?
Perhaps.
Are you asking me what is the meaning of sex?
Well, what do you think it proves?
You are the constant thinker, Ernest.
We get along swimmingly.
We do get along well.
So when we had sex, I realized this proves we should be together.
What are you talking about? The book and my PhD, that is it.
When I wake up, I want to see you. Not tomorrow, but every day. I want to look at you, and I want to see you looking at me the way I know you have looked at me in the past. And if I went blind, I could feel you looking at me. I want to touch you, and I want to feel you.
My PhD.
We can do more than that.
What is more than that?
Forever. As permanent as the book we are to write.
No. Sexual compatibility is a physical skill like juggling or singing.
It's more than that.
It's not. It could be mechanical. The right height, the right angle.
But we have more than that. We work together.
I want to be a doctor.
You will.
Ernest, if you think what we have is more than a scientific process, it's not a good thing.
Why not?
Men think that.
You don't think we can have everything? Work, science, and love?
I hope I never think that. Ernest, do you know what would happen to the test subjects?
Test subjects.
What protocol have you put together to show potential of pairs? There is none.
Everything can't be proven.
Can you say that again?
It's true. Everything can't.
Context is essential.
Not with humans.
It's 2/3 of survival. Context and awareness of context.
How are you so certain?
That's why I would never tell your wife.
My wife is out of the context.
Of course she is, because we keep her out of it. If I forget that, I'm in jeopardy.
My marriage.
My survival. Doctor, I will never tell your wife. If she discovers something, I will deny it. Not out of love or sanctity of matrimony, but for survival. If I forget the environment or if the environment changes, I will need to do something else.
So you think love at a job is not possible?
A man and a young woman. We could test it, but the woman will always lose. If she thinks it's just sex, it can be exercise. But when she forgets, it will be a death.
I think you might be mistaken.
It's a natural phenomenon. Do you know the story about the scorpion and the crocodile?
Folk tales.
Folk tales hold truth. Scorpion says, "Hey, Miss Crocodile, I need a lift across the river." At first, the crocodile says, "Absolutely not." Scorpion says, "Why?" Crocodile says, "Everyone knows that scorpions sting, and the sting is poisonous." Scorpion says, "No way. You know scorpions are afraid of the water. If I sting you, I drown. Why would I do something like that?" Crocodile thought for a while. "Well," Crocodile said, "that makes sense." She said, "Climb aboard." Halfway across the river, the scorpion stings her. Sister Crocodile said, "Why would you do that?" He said, "Sorry, I just couldn't help it. I'm a scorpion." He said this while they drowned.
Folk tales show your southern roots.
You have the same roots, and the tree is still standing.
Let's try to figure out the protocols for study at Woods Hole and cross that bridge when we get to it.
Ernest, I'm not crossing that river. Woodhull Marine Biological Lab, 1932. Just me. Let's find a cozy spot to cuddle and cool. Just us, just me. I missed my flight. Trouble is you. Trouble is you. Ernest?
I missed you.
You did?
Of course.
The postman would have been confused.
Very busy.
No time to pen a letter to your lover.
I started a couple, but something always came up.
The book. I know.
I was trying to get back here, not spend too much time You're good.
I do my job.
You are a great researcher.
I do as instructed. So, Dr. Just, how do you explain no mail? I mailed you twice a week. I thought I had the wrong address. Or maybe someone was stealing the mail.
I'm here now.
I understand the science, that's easy. It's you. My trouble is you.
I can't be trouble. What is that song from?
A great talking picture featuring Marion Davies.
Davies. Wasn't she that woman that Charlie Chaplin shot that producer over?
As a scientist, how do you fall for gossip?
She's William Randolph Hearst's mistress and was on his yacht. And Chaplin shoots this other guy. The producer is dead, and the triangle is probably a square.
The producer is dead, that much is true, but the rest is idle gossip.
All gossip is an idol.
What do they say about me?
No one says anything about you.
They all do.
Woods Hole acknowledges the importance of what we're doing.
Is that all we're doing? Research?
Can't be.
It could be.
Not so. I miss you too greatly.
Will you always miss me? Or when this book is done, will you be done with me?
I'll never be done with you. You always exceed my expectations.
I need to show you something.
What is that?
I don't know.
These urchins are fertilized.
Egg and sperm, yes. But it has an overgrowth.
Well, I can see that, but why?
We thought that the UV light would accelerate the rate of fertilization, but not an overgrowth.
Is that an overgrowth of the sperm or the egg?
I don't know. I suspect it's the egg. Look at the next slide.
Wow.
Look at the slide from today.
The egg envelops, then kills itself.
Perhaps.
We add ultraviolet light to fertilization. It should accelerate the process.
Might have used too much light for the coupling. Maybe the pairing should have time in the light, then balance the time in the shadows.
You know what chemists think about biology?
I know we don't get a lot of respect.
You know what Percy Julian asked me after the last contentious faculty meeting?
What?
He said, "This meeting is like the mitochondria. No one knows what it does or why we do it."
That was a joke.
He said, I tell him the meetings are a waste of time, but the mitochondria is essential.
True.
He then said, "Oh yes, it's an essential mystery." And it makes this mysterious sound like a bad horror movie. If he said it to me when no one else was around, he'd have a mysterious black eye. Damn chemists.
We need to see if this has killed the cell or just terminated the fertilization.
What difference would it make?
You taught me that we have to follow the evidence, not our theory.
The evidence is showing the destruction of the cells.
No, the evidence is showing the destruction of the egg.
What could this be?
We should see it through to the end.
It might take the book in a different direction.
Europe must be so lovely.
It is liberating.
Their freedom is special.
It's more than freedom. It's what liberation really is. Freedom is some moment of oppression that you push off. This was so far past that, I can't express it.
The only thing they think about colored Americans is jazz music.
There's nothing wrong with Duke Ellington introducing Italians to our life.
I'm sure you made a great impression.
It was mutual.
This might be a good thing.
This setback?
Oh, there are two changed molecules.
How do we explain this?
It can be discussed in a chapter about the fertilization process or the fertilization reaction or both.
What are you saying?
This can be the crux of where the things which are not merely chemical or merely physical stand out. This can be a new locus where the real biology of the cell exhibits its complexity.
This is if anything else occurs.
My dear Ernest, you are older than I, yet you do not know this fact. We cannot control life. If I could, I would not be here right now.
Why not?
If I had control over life, why would I consciously decide to be your lab assistant?
What else would you do?
Anything.
But what?
That's what they showed us.
That they have will, even if it is to end the fertilization.
Why would a smart young woman fall in love with an older married man with 3 children?
You are in love.
I tried not to be. It might be the mitochondria. I didn't want to relate this to us. I just wanted you to see that this might not be a bad thing. A different thing, but not bad.
I still don't see it.
The only way our relationship works is if we keep it in the dark.
You're not hidden.
If we illuminated it, if we blasted it with UV light, one of us or something would die.
Work is only rewarding after it has been painful.
The scientific process.
That is why they create vacations.
You've been refreshed. Are you looking forward to returning to Howard?
Absolutely not.
Really?
If it weren't for the money and the moderate resources, I would walk away.
Where would you go?
I don't know.
Would you want me to come with you?
Of course. You make Howard almost bearable. If you weren't there, I would probably leave.
Back to Italy?
No. The Kaiser Institute might name me its first colored scientist in residence.
Germany?
Germany respects scientists, but they have money available for real research.
You never talked about Germany before.
In Naples, there were colleagues from Berlin who were fascinated by my project.
Adore?
Yeah, they were visiting. They have many.
You realize that with you, Dr. Drew and Dr. Julian all at Howard at the same time, there is a group of thinkers that can't be matched anywhere in the world.
All of us overpaid, underpaid. And Johnson thinks Julian is the genius of the three.
I was looking forward to the fall. Then, when I get my PhD and come back to Howard, I'd be appreciated.
I appreciate you.
You do?
I hope you know that. There's nothing I could do if you were not helping me.
How do you show me that appreciation?
You know I appreciate all the work you've done.
That's what you tell me. But I never hear you say that to anyone else.
Is this really about being appreciated?
I guess it's about survival.
You're doing wonderfully from where I see it.
Observation is one part of investigations.
We are getting near the end, even with these twists.
So, you are planning on leaving Howard?
Not planning, but you know where I want to be?
I thought I knew. Now you say Europe. I thought you had to show those New Englanders a thing or two.
I would love to make a triumphant return to New Hampshire before departing.
Dartmouth is such a provincial place.
Do you know how shabbily they treated me?
I've heard the tale.
Everyone knew that I was to give the commencement address. I was a Rufus Choate Scholar for 2 years. I was Phi Beta Kappa. I was a Magnum Cum Laude. Everyone knew that I was to give the address.
Ernest,
Everyone
it was
except the faculty.
1907. The nation was just
This
recovering.
is not about the nation. This was a small sample size, and the exemplary specimen in biology, zoology, English, and in most matters in Hanover was me. Instead of looking at the evidence and deciding logically, the faculty assumed something that no one could.
What was that?
That all of these wonderful white parents and grandparents of these young paragons of male brilliance could not fathom that the lone colored student from South Carolina could surpass them all intellectually. What did they think would happen?
Rioting in the street.
Yet what could I have said that would have caused the riots?
It is not something that you would say. You know that.
I know that my presence alone would not cause an uprising.
You don't bring me around your wife for what reason?
Because she's my wife and you are my friend.
Your mistress.
I hate that word.
Annoyingly accurate. The institution of marriage. You don't want to destroy it.
It's not the same.
If you took that stage, particularly in 1907, you would be destroying one of the great institutions of American life.
Racism is an institution.
My brilliant friend. There are probably more grants today being doled out to prove our inadequacy than there are engaged in biological fertilization.
Americans are so misguided.
Not just Americans. Your beloved Germany is one of the great centers for the study of eugenics.
And what happens when the science or a person shows them that their truth is false?
They don't believe it. Many still think that the earth is flat, and they will kill you if you prove them wrong. What is funny?
I thought you were speaking metaphorically, but you're not.
You never considered that the faculty at the time might be sparing your life.
In a quaint New England town. But times have changed.
You think so?
They will.
I have always been attracted to your unbridled confidence.
Do you realize that after the biology of the cell surface is published, what the impact this book will have on America?
The Bible of biology.
People will be using it as their primer, as their Bible on biology, a text penned by a colored man, the King James of biology, a colored man. They must respect colored people after that.
Why?
How do you revere the text and not the author?
It happens every day. Ask Jesus. Someone has to pay for salvation.
Roger! Roger! What happened?
I don't know.
What, has it happened before?
Maybe.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Should I get a doctor?
Exhaustion.
It's not exhaustion.
It could be.
Are you eating?
Of course, it's.
Have you seen a doctor at all?
I don't need to.
You have an MD degree as well?
I think I know what it is. I don't know what to do about it.
What is it?
It's the protocol itself.
That's not possible.
You haven't been doing it.
When did this come on?
Last 2 weeks?
Do you always wear the glasses?
Always.
This cycle is important to finish the book.
I know.
We can't stop now.
I know that. I never said we'd stop. I just said that it's affecting me.
You're a great researcher.
I do my job.
You are very good.
I do as instructed. I put a specimen on a slide.
You are brilliant.
I'm very much like them. I'm sentient, but I do as I must.
If they had the thoughts that you have, they would not be in a lab under test conditions.
It's the same reason why I know, Ernest, that this light is doing something to me, and I continue to do it.
We must continue. We must complete the project.
No,
I know you have the commitment.
I do.
These are crucial chapters of the book.
I could write a chapter with you.
But for the book to have greater impact, it should be solo authored.
That means I shouldn't contribute to your tome.
The biology of the cell surface will be groundbreaking for many reasons.
One being that it is penned by the great Ernest Everett Just and Dr. Just only.
Who worked with Tesla, Edison.
Pierre Curie.
Trust me on this.
When you are backed into a corner, that is your answer. Trust me.
I am sincere. Trust me. Do you need some water?
I'm fine now.
What is that?
He's got all these photos and she's got one. I gave her an artist's interpretation.
Why?
Because don't you get it? The point of this thing?
Can we resume?
Sure.
August 1932. What is this?
A chapter.
A chapter?
I have placed observations from the summer into a coherent document.
But a chapter?
Yes, sir.
For the book?
The one and only.
I never had a problem with you writing a paper about your work after the book was published. But a chapter, Roger?
Ernest, this research is quite literally killing me.
It's not.
Maybe as a deathbed request, I ask that you place this in the book.
I haven't even read it.
I'm your best student. I learned at the feet of the master. Do you think this could be anything but brilliant?
It's not my brilliance.
I know.
It must be solo authored.
Ernest, I know you say you love me,
I do.
and I don't want you to leave your family. I want you to merely be objective with someone you love.
That's not possible.
Read this. I don't want you to throw garbage into the Bible of biology. I want you to read it. And if it meets your high standards, use it.
I will consider it.
What is to consider? This would not be love. This would be for science.
Roger, bring me the wine from the other room while I read. Howard University, 1936. Someday, when I'm awfully low, when the world is cold, I will feel a glow just thinking of you and the way you look. Yes, Donna? Who? Sure. Let her in. This is a surprise.
A delightful one, I hope.
Always. How was your mother?
He passed away last month.
I'm so sorry for your loss.
I wrote that I'd be coming back soon.
I was assuming you'd want another semester off.
I can't afford any more time away.
I'm sorry, but I was planning on you taking more time.
Nothing like changing plans to keep one young.
I am sorry about what happened in Chicago.
There was nothing for you to be sorry about.
Lily could not understand what happened. He said that they asked the simplest questions in the orals. You knew the answers. He knew you knew it, yet you said nothing.
I had too many different things going on at the same time.
You should have let this place go.
I love this place. I would never let it go.
It would have been fine.
You were in Berlin. He wanted the department to be under the medical school to kill it.
You were in Chicago?
He planned it that way. Everyone was away. I took the train back, and that was 5 days before the orals. I got back in time.
Thank you for saving it, but you could have let it go. When I got back, Johnson and I would have had a fight.
You were enjoying Europe.
Raising funds.
I'm sure. But what I need is a little guaranteed employment.
That's what I don't know about.
What don't you know about it?
Roger, I just asked Johnson to hire Max Hartman from the Wilhelm Institute, and he refused.
So he refused.
This is the best time for America, for more particularly for Howard, to get some of the great minds in the world. They want to be near DC, and we can use great scholars. Your eyes.
A long story. They are fine. One of the things about me being here, I know every corner and crevice of every building. I can make it other places. But the challenge is that my eyes need to adjust from room to room. I know how to do that here.
You know this place like the back of your hand.
Better than that.
My plan was that you'd be back in the spring.
Let me look me in the eye and tell me that I'm not welcome here.
It is not about your being welcomed or not.
It was just not in your plan.
Planning the semester is important for the students, budgeting, administrators.
I arrived early.
What am I to do?
Let me take a look at your semester map, and I can arrange a teaching schedule that accommodates me.
It was an accident?
It was gradual. One day I saw something unusual floating in my eye, and that unusual thing got bigger and bigger.
You kept working?
I would expect no special accommodations from me. None.
We don't have any accommodations here, just microscopes.
I would expect my standard compensation.
Some things do not change.
To be underpaid, just like everyone else.
You look good, Roger.
A sight for sore eyes.
That is gallows humor.
No one is doomed. Yet.
How do I look?
Tired.
I am.
You look like my EE, but just tired. Get your rest.
I do get rest. These bags under my eyes are the result of time and torture.
Have you been the torturer or the tortured?
You know me.
You have always been tortured.
It's been my mission.
The sacrificial lamb. Yet you survived the multiple arrows. Are you Hamlet or Rasputin? Ernest, a thought experiment.
That's a galley.
I know what it is. You have to give the final edits and send it back soon. I know much more than you think, and I always have.
I have never doubted you.
Thought experiment. Let's say that you worked with someone for 9 years on a project and had worked with this same person for 6 years before that. And much of those 6 years earlier were setting up for the next 9. So it could be 15 years.
Are you talking about me and Professor Lilly?
I could be, but I'm not. And after 15 years, someone publishes a major document.
This was
and
a
you gave this
culmination
man
of
a
all of
chapter
that
for
work.
that book.
My
Not only
rewriting
am I
of that
not
section
credited as
changed
a
it.
co-author, I'm not mentioned at all.
It is easy to amend the acknowledgments.
Acknowledgements. Nature has neither core nor shell. Everything is at once. Goethe. Mine. There are probably 13 chapters that you could not have made without me.
There are only 13 chapters in the book.
My point exactly.
You were important in this.
Chromosomes and ectoplasm, the fertilization process, and parthenogenesis.
I had theories on many of the chapters before I met you.
I would say that you belittle me, but I'm in a thought experiment. What would you do?
I don't know.
A hypothetical scenario.
I would sue.
Wouldn't a duel be more dramatic? 20 paces?
Don't be ridiculous. If it were a thought experiment, I would come out with a better book and a more profound book on my own.
This book is so much mine. From the unadulterated drawings to the typos. I am all over this and you don't even mention me. You don't even address me as your capable assistant. I wrote this book. Why should I write another?
Because that book is mine.
That is a lie. And you know it.
I thought that this was a thought experiment.
All experiments have a relationship to the actual, and in this case, the actual is right here.
You don't see all the work I did to put this together.
I know you better than you could imagine. I also know that in every piece of correspondence you have had with the publisher in New York, you have never once mentioned me.
I wrote that book.
You penned this book based on a series of observations and notes made by me. While you were in Naples, Berlin, London, or Amsterdam, to act as if I did not exist is not accurate, doctor.
I determined what to test and how.
With my input.
Of course.
We tested it. We developed it. I spent the time in the lab that could not be returned to me. H.G. Wells could not have penned me with more invisible ink. Light me.
You don't smoke.
You do. Match is still in the top drawer.
Roger, don't be ridiculous.
I asked you what you would do. This is what I would do in a thought experiment.
This would be childish. I would challenge the thinking.
I should have known better. I should have never been a strumpet.
What a medieval term.
Concubine is better.
We can't have a conversation with you holding the manuscript and a match.
That's what it was. That is why it's easier to dismiss me. Men have been doing this with their assistants since they have walked upright.
I will change the acknowledgement page immediately. I will highlight your contribution.
Ernest, I have known you almost half my life, and you do not change your mind quickly.
I mean it.
You don't. Lying has become easier for you, but you still don't do it well.
I am not lying. I am.
Ernest, I can think of no man I know better than you.
What will that do?
You're right. If this were the original and only manuscript, this might be worth it. Very head a gabbler. But since it is a galley, this flame would better serve my cigarette.
Thank you.
You're welcome. By the way, your soon-to-be next wife will never work here.
What are you talking about?
Not qualified. Her English is not good enough.
You don't know anything about this.
I didn't know you were trying to get Hartman hired, but I knew that you had another German you wanted to hire.
How did you imagine this?
Donna,
Donna?
your secretary for 20 years.
You sabotaged her?
Oh, no sabotage was needed, sabotage. You always come at it with your unique view, your Dr. Just take on the world. Your name was accidentally perfect.
Appropriate. And you did the same. Negro woman scientists, there is no doubt the work you can do. It starts with how we see the world.
Even with failing eyesight.
We both know we are talking about vision, not sight.
And together?
Had we been together? Really? Together? Cancer cures could emerge.
When we first met, you were long wed to Ethel.
I married her for society, not science.
Status is important, Professor.
Not really.
It is to you.
It was. We could have reshaped biology.
We are.
Together, we could have turned it on its head.
But there were too many things in the way.
When we met, there were obstacles to discovery, and I chased funding all over the globe.
And white women.
European women are different than American white women. They are.
She's not really white. She's European. Did you tell Ethel that?
Ethel and I fell out of love a long time ago.
I guess.
You went to London, but you never got to travel to Europe. It is a different kind of freedom.
Really? Different freedom? Do I spell it differently?
Freedom for the Negro. Roger, you realize that when I am in Europe, Naples, Berlin, anywhere, I am referred to as an American, not a Negro.
I assume that we must take that as a compliment.
Not a Negro. I am the American with the poor German pronunciation. Do you understand how wonderful that sounds when you're trying to sprechen the Deutsch?
I thought you were talking about science. The epigraph in that book, the Goethe. Nature has neither a core nor a shell. Everything is at once. That's mine.
A good one.
I gave it to you.
We found it together.
What is her name?
You disagree?
That's not what we were talking about. What is her name?
Why?
I was your escape from Ethel, but I was never her replacement. She is my replacement.
She is not.
I should at least have the respect of her name.
Hedwig.
Are you serious? Last name.
Schnetzler. I met her at the Kaiser Wilhelm Institute.
With a name like Schnetzler, I didn't think you met in Egypt.
She's brilliant.
To replace me, she should be.
She's not replacing you.
You met her at the right time.
I guess.
She's a European. How old is she?
Now?
Of course, now. I don't want you to engage me with a math problem.
28.
Men in their late 50s always find women in their 20s.
I'm 53.
I was rounding up.
She's almost 30.
I am sure she's mature for her age in a European way.
You're mocking me.
Ernest. Men and I do not think that these are genetic traits that can't evolve, are always looking for younger women. It is the fear of crossing the midpoint of life. I think it is the idea that you want to live forever.
That's not it. When I met Hedwig, I was drowning.
You agree with me.
Woods Hole was no longer a refuge. Brown didn't hire me. And after the Depression, all elite institutions were wary of hiring Negroes. Howard was draining me. That non-marriage of mine was taking all the starch out of my sails. This young woman gave me a life preserver.
You, my dear, brilliant friend, are a cliche. Older man struggling with aging and the older person responsibilities of the life they've built finds a young woman to revive them. You are standing here proving my theory.
I don't know what to tell you. I was drawn to it.
You are just a collection of cells and you never develop past your surface.
I don't know.
Ernest. You couldn't help it. You're a scorpion.
Image.
No artwork.
But I don't get it.
She is the first Black woman with a PhD from the University of Pennsylvania. And the freaking World Wide Web has one picture of her.
That's why we are doing the play.
No, she has no images at all.
What do you?
No art. And then yay.
Thank you so much. Wonderful, wonderful work. I want to invite Godfrey and Shavonda to come back to the screen. Brilliant. Thank you so much. I also want to invite Dominic and Shay. Please come on out. Thank you.
Virtual bow.
Imagine everyone is clapping. They're all clapping.
Good work, you
They're
guys.
all clapping for you. Thank you. Come on, Dominic. Come on out.
Yay.
Thank you. I also want to thank Peter Morrow and Ben Laurenberg for their work on this and all the design elements that have been an amazing part of this project. So thank you, Ben. Thank you, Peter. And Dominic, I'm hoping you and Shay can hang out for a bit and chat with us about the process.
Cool.
Great. And for all of you out there, I just want to say thank you for being here this evening. I'm Haley Finn. I'm the Associate Artistic Director. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm just really, really happy to have Dominic back at the Playwright Center and Shay back at the Playwright Center, two of my favorite artists, and of course, Shavonda and Godfrey. Thank you so much for being here. And we're gonna chat for a bit. I have a couple of questions for Shay and Dominic, and
Can
then
I just give a little bit of praise to these amazing actors before?
yes, well,
okay.
yes, please. I just am like imagining, I see in the chat, people are cheering, people are excited. There's just so I can share with you, there's emojis of hands clapping. Yay. Many praises. So thank you. And Shay, feel free.
I don't know if you guys are gonna hang out, but yeah, if you can hear me, I know my internet is stable too, but just, yeah, from the heart, thank you for, I just think in this Zoom reality that we're all in right now, we're all struggling to figure out what is what, but I think that Dominic has given us a wonderful gem to experiment with, and I love that you guys stepped inside of the experiment. So my heart is really filled. Yeah, just so much love to you and Dominic.
Yes, thank you both so much. Yeah, thank you, just thank you. Before I get started, because I have a couple of questions, and I also want to open it up to the audience for some questions too. And those of you who are watching this on YouTube, if you have questions, you can put them in the YouTube chat. We'll be fielding those questions. Julia will be fielding some questions for us. So just to get started, I want to just congratulate everyone on their work. I mean, it's amazing to think that this has only been a few days that you've been in the room together, and what you've just achieved has just been tremendous. And I know, Dominic, it's all really started with your vision for the play, really seeing this also in the Zoom world. And from our original conversations, you seeing the characters almost as if they were existing under a microscope. And then Shay, you taking that idea and really, really running with it. So I was hoping that you could maybe just talk a bit about that collaboration and how you created this really cohesive aesthetic for the piece.
I'm actually going to pass this to Shay. I mean, with Shay and I had a conversation. I mean, first thing I wanted to thank everybody, Godfrey, Shavonda, everybody, Peter, Ben. But in terms of that direct question, Shay and I had a conversation, and we talked about, these characters are people, but can they be cells, and can they move around? And then she, with Ben and Shay makes film and she does all this other great stuff. And so she really came up with a lot of the visual imagery. I mean, my thinking was to break the world and then go back into this world. And then a lot of the ways in which that world moved around was Shay in collaboration with Ben. And it's kind of very cool. Yeah, Shay, you can speak on it.
Yeah, I mean, and I love that the actors, I know you guys are going to bounce off, but I love that you're here for a minute, because I'm so curious, like, if you're like, that was crazy, never again, or interesting. Yeah, what I loved right away was that Dominic was really clear. You were really clear, Dominic, about your interest was the experiment. And I was like, oh my God, that's my thing. So I love experiments because they allow us to try things. It's just a built-in opportunity, right? And I just, I think as a brown girl growing into my own artistry that's always been pretty multidisciplinary, I've always been excited about how to cross, interdisciplinary, one hand's in this pot and one hand's in that pot. So I love the idea of the visual aspects that the play gave us, you know. And so when he said, you know, there's, you know, looking at the petri dish. So I was like, physically scientists look at the petri dish, but also what, you know, what if they're in, like they are the dish, you know? So what does that mean to really embed them in there and like do an examination while as they examine their specimens, we examine them. And so, you know, it's, yeah, it was only a few days, but it gave us a chance to at least throw some ideas up. And then when I have a history, Ben and I did another project where we were experimenting with the technology, and he, you know, he just kind of ran with it. He was like, you know, I was like, you know, how will we show the cells? And Dominic kind of wants, you know, an explosion of light. I'm like, we can't go into actors' houses, but like, can we pretend? And so I love some of the experiments. So, I mean, and I know the actors, just for people that are watching, some of the elements they can see live and some they can't. So was it crazy for you guys?
I can just speak for myself, and maybe we'll get some questions coming in. But I thought it was beautiful, actually, just looking at it. I thought it was really beautiful and extremely cohesive. And I really got that sense of you know, you've talked about like the slides under the microscope, seeing them in that way and moving around, and then both being under the microscope as the cells, and then also being like looking under the microscope, and you were able to see both of those angles. So I thought it was really beautiful.
But they can't see that, Haley. They can only see part of the experiment. That's why I was asking them, like, what is it? You know, what are the, yeah.
The actors, yeah. I mean, I don't know how you felt, Siobhan. It was great. I mean, we could hear the sound stuff, but so yeah, I just kind of like had no idea. I saw a little bit of it, right, where we were, oh, there's some stuff happening. It was great actually not to worry about it and just worry about the words. Right, that was enough to worry about the words and whatever proppy stuff we had to do, and making sure that you know, we're still in the light, and you know, there are a lot of kind of moving parts. It's weirdly more moving parts than, you know, than doing a live show. I mean, this was live, but you know what I mean, like in person. So yeah. Anyway, so but it was the words are so evocative. You could just concentrate on the words, and they're great words. So that made it easy, I feel like.
Exactly. Oh, definitely. We knew there was magic happening. Unseen magic happening, and we were creating our own magic with the passing the objects through the screen, which I really loved. I'm like, we get to play and interact in that way and have that aspect of it. Yeah, so but it was nice, like Godfrey was saying, to not to have to worry about that or seeing that. I just knew it was happening and that the audience was able to get that bit of magic. So I'm just happy to have been part of that process.
Yeah, it was very magical. And I also appreciate all the magic that you're doing. I think actors are working extra hard at this time, having to create sets in their apartment and lighting and, you know, really everything in addition to all the acting. So it just tremendous work from both.
You don't even know, Haley.
I know, I am only seeing a part of it. I'm only seeing, because that's why it's so magical to me.
But you all did such a great job just like taking us, like not putting it on us. It was like, it made it really easy. Seriously, like all that, it was just, you know, Shay and Ben and Peter, it was just like, yeah, it was well done. I've done some of these where it hasn't been able to happen. We just didn't maybe know enough because it's such a new form. So kudos on that.
Yeah, thank you everyone involved. I want to take some questions from the audience. So I'm going to take a question here from Savannah. And this is for you, Dominic. How did you get drawn to these characters in this story?
Oh, well, the play, so there's another play, a brick and mortar play that was a commission for Ensemble Studio Theater. It's a Sloan play, and that play is about 2 hours long. And in that, I did research on Ernest Everett Just. And then, long story short, I discovered Ernest Everett Just had an assistant named Roger Arliner Young, who worked with him for 9 consecutive summers in Woods Hole, Massachusetts, wrote the grants for them to go up there. And then I discovered that Roger Arliner Young was a woman. And that's where like the drama and the whole build out of the play emerged. But long story short, so there's a much longer play called Biology, or the Biology of the Surface. And then a few months ago, Reggie Edmond and Black Lives, Black Words asked me if I had a play available for Zoom, and I didn't. And then I cut the play, and then with the Playwright Center, when there was this opportunity to experiment, I wanted to lean into Zoom. So what I was really trying to do is I was trying to take these characters who I discovered in a different journey and make this into a Zoom play or a video conference play, like a radio play, but in this form. So it the characters came from a different kind of research place, and then this experiment is about this form for the most part. Yeah.
That's great. I'm going to throw another question at you, and this is a kind of a question that I had, and it also is a question really for everyone. And I know Roger is largely a character that you've invented because there's so little been written about her, and so I'm just wondering around that journey, Shavonda, what it was like to play that character, and Shay, you know, how you were directing the character to be both kind of very visible and, you know, retreating in her visibility. So just curious about that whole dynamic.
Yeah, well, I thought she was very interesting. Some of the information that Dominic gave us about her, of wanting to study first singing, or was it opera? And then she moved into biology based on something that Just saw in her, and went on and got her master's, and then went on and got her PhD. I thought, like, this is like that she was amazing, and that she had a great imagination as well, for her to envision herself becoming the first woman of color to have a PhD in biology, you know. And so I tried to incorporate that, like, oh, like that wonder and that drive as well to do that, and her commitment to it, and just this struggle with relationship, you know, with race and with gender and all of that happening, and her desire to accomplish still, and then losing a little bit of faith in somebody who, you know, mentored her and who she thought really highly of as well. So it was really great to be able to portray her and to be able to bring her to life. And I'm grateful that she's getting this other medium in order to live and exist. I think it's so important, you know, that these stories, I saw somebody in the chat said these little secret stories, you know, be brought to life, because wow, you know,
Well,
contribution was huge. So
well, and I know, you know, like we have a limited amount of, you know, time in the Zoom, but I feel like what Dominic has offered, you know, well, even just his inquiry, right? Like, why was she missing? Like, why was she miss? I mean, she spent all of this time with him, but she literally is deleted, you know? So how did she get canceled like that? And so I actually am very interested in that lineage of people not getting credited, not getting acknowledged, et cetera. But I love the little moments that we get to sort of see her in her element, you know, so we get to see her doing the experiment and leading it. And you hear him, you watch him, you know, say things like, "You're good," and he's watching. And so when she comes back at the end and she's holding up that manuscript, it's like, come on, dude. Like, what is it that allows for this to happen? And why is there only one photo, one image of her? So it's deep. It gets really complex. It's not just the relationship, it's the class, it's the gender, it's the dynamics of the field. It's all of those things, you know, in academia and outside of it too.
Yeah, that's really amazing how you were able to stack all of those themes into such a compact play. I have another question that came in here from Logan, wondering, Dominic, if you could speak a bit about the comparing eugenics in Europe to the biology work that Ernst and Roger were working on.
Yeah, well, you know, it's actually the confluence of studying history at the time. So as just was in Europe, and he's studying in Europe. It's the 30s, and we know, well, we discover what's happening in Europe, but a lot of, as the Third Reich is being built, a lot of their science stuff was predicated on this study of eugenics, as complex as that is. And this African-American man, he was in Europe. Percy Julian was actually in Europe also studying chemistry. And I think that there was a blind spot in Ernest Just, because he actually put a lot of the onus for his lack of mobility. It's weird to think about his lack of mobility, because he was a successful person and scholar, but he made this public presentation at Princeton in the late 30s, and he was so taken aback that there was an American eugenicist who was on the same day of science and science presentations, and he never acknowledged that so much of that groundwork was being done in Europe. So much, like this place that was kind of a home. It wasn't hidden. I mean, I just think he had a blind spot for it, which is unfortunate. But then, of course, I want the audience to start to deal with some of the ways in which science is used inappropriately. And this is an extreme case where he says that the book has to be solo authored. No, it doesn't. That's just a practice that has to happen. It's all how you view science, and how you take the information or misuse the information, which I think is the key to all that study of eugenics that occurred. And it's still, unfortunately, it's still going on, but it's unbelievably problematic, unbelievably so. Yeah.
One other question that just came in, and this is really for anyone, which is, and maybe we start with you, Dominic, to talk a little bit about, you've created this, as you're saying, like a new form. This is a Zoom play. Do you consider it a play, or is this an entirely new form?
Yeah. I mean, I think what I'm trying to, because there is no Zoom play yet. There's no, we don't have this form yet, because we only just came to do Zoom like 6 months ago, right? So like a radio play, we think about Foley artists, we think about stuff that we put together. I don't think we've figured out what a Zoom play is. And that's actually, for me, part of the excitement of working on this at this time. And that's the reason why, like, Shay's work was so important for me, like when I'm thinking about it, because I actually do want this. I do want Cell Surface to exist as a Zoom play. And it's really interesting, because I think, and I don't know if Godfrey or Shavunda consider it, but when you're acting in a radio play as an actor, there are different concerns that happen to you, or as a maker of it, right? I'm wondering, aside from props, manipulation, and all that stuff, if the same thing is starting to happen as you're working in Zoom plays. Or Shay, if you're, when you're thinking about the Zoom world, is there a different approach to how you direct them in spaces? But to answer the question directly, I think that this is different than, if I want to say this, a regular play. And that's, that's part of the joy of the investigation for me. But I was curious, Godfrey or Shavunda or Shay, is there different ways of working when you're in?
Yeah, what do you think, Godfrey?
Well, I mean, I'll try to keep it brief. It is different. It's totally different. I mean, even some of what, Shay was doing with us, I think it's not the same as doing film. It's not the same as doing television. It's not the same as doing radio, certainly, and it's not the same as doing a live play. It might be closer to doing a live play than those other things. I don't know. Aside from like sitcoms that are done with a live studio audience, besides that, it might be the closest, but I don't know. It does feel like it's its own animal, because again, you're not quite sure how big to be. How big is too big? How do you use the space that's in the frame, and when people are sitting stationary, because you're thinking about you're not just thinking about, you're also thinking about how people are watching that. And on Zoom, it's so specific, right? It's like, it may be on handheld, but it probably isn't, right? It's probably like on a laptop, probably, but you're thinking about how people are watching it. And so the composition element is really fascinating. And it feels like that what Shay was doing and how she was pushing us, I thought was just really interesting Because I feel like most people would be going for like, oh, keep it small, to do these things, and it's film, it's a different, right? Like, because it's a camera.
Yeah, you hit it on the head. And it's also those variables that we can't control fully, and then the ones that we can. Can you guys hear me? I'm on two devices because I keep popping in and out. Okay.
Totally.
But I love that. I like that Dominique kept saying, well, we'll see. We'll see if the experiment works or if it doesn't. But I'm very intrigued about the spatial, proximity, what we're allowed to do, how we actually still are pressed to find intimacy in the Zoom space. It intrigues me. And I mean, even the tender moments, that you guys found, I love those, because then I'm like, it is just like live theater, kind of. So yes, Anne.
I think it was just so exciting to have you involved with this, Shay. I just admire that you do so many things as an artist. You're a writer and spoken word artist, and so I was excited to see you kind of tackling this form too, and this experiment and this beautiful collaboration that you and Dominic and Godfrey and Splenda and everyone was able to put together.
Oh, I do really want to praise Ben Lorberg.
And Ben.
And Peter Morrow on sound, but like really having a whole team, for us to go, okay, Dominic's really open. Let's just step inside this. So that's what's beautiful, that we can all keep doing our thing during this, pandemic, and keep learning new, growing new arms. Because in some ways it is growing a new arm. And then, you're like, okay, I'm gonna use that again. Well, but put that one back there. Okay, we don't need it right now, but we need that one real fast. So yeah, growing new hands and feet feel really good and really safe, actually, I think.
That's great. We have one last question, and then we'll kind of sign off for the night. But this was as you were learning so much this process, and there was so much that was just working so well. Maggie was curious to know if there was anything that you tried that you ditched, that there was anything that you realized wasn't working.
Well, I'll say for me really quick, I know Ben's not, maybe he can say hi. But there was something that you built. Hey, Ben, that he built that was, Dominique, I don't know if you remember, but you said something about really inside of the experiments. And so what I liked is that Ben kind of took that literally. And so it's like this experimental background with all of like equations and et cetera. And then they were inside of that. And we didn't really actualize that, but I like that we didn't, because I mean, we did have to keep something simpler. Mm-hmm. Was there anything that you really kind of thought you wanted to see, Dominique, that you abandoned and maybe been to?
I mean, I don't think I think that there's stuff that there's a few things that not that I abandoned, that in my original thinking of the experiment itself, kind of moved away. I mean, even the 45-minute thing, like I thought originally I was going to cut it down to 45 minutes, but then their story didn't sit in 45 minutes. So then it like became bigger than 45 minutes. I think that this is one thing that I discovered about this. I love the light experiment, but I realized that might've been the hardest thing for Ben and Shay and the actors to mess with. Like the light exploding in the space, that was like the hardest thing for us to mess with, because that's the experiment for the sea urchins. Although I liked it. It's weird. Like I liked it. I just don't know how that read to an audience. But I think that the experiment might have been the toughest thing. But no, I think the thing which I enjoyed, it's so weird. I didn't get to the 45 minutes, but I got, and it's hard to Shay and Ben and Peter and the actors. Like I got people to engage with these pieces just historically, or whatever this means, and Roger Young, and try to figure out, like, they took a journey with these people, which I thought was really kind of cool. But Ben, I don't know if there's something that you're like, we couldn't do or we couldn't figure out. You guys.
Zoom space and really kind of land somewhere, and in the background
Well, and also Godfrey didn't want to follow our directions. So we were mad at him most of the time. Just kidding.
This guy seems unlikely.
He was hard to work with. He's so fabulous.
I've known Godfrey for so many years. We were part of a theater company together many, many moons ago in New York.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes.
Have
Wait.
you back. Well, I just want to say thank you so much again for all of your beautiful work. Thank you, Dominic, for this incredible play, for sharing these characters with us, for realizing them. Godfrey, Shavonda, Shay, Ben, Peter, everyone, thank you so much. And there's, just so you know, much applause in the YouTube chat for everyone. So
Thank you very much, Haley. Thank you for everything too. Playwright Center, Haley, doing all this, Julia. Thank you so much. It was fantastic. Really appreciate it.
Oh, you're fantastic. Thank you so much.
Have a wonderful night, everyone.
Ashe.
Good night.
Ashe.
We didn't mention Ashe.